And I'm at Enterprise Connect with Dialpad. Calvin, how are you?
I'm very well, Evan. Thanks for having me.
You guys are taking over the world. So much news and announcements here at Enterprise Connect and beyond.
Yeah.
How do you describe Dialpad these days, to those who may not be familiar?
Yeah, so at Dialpad, we offer an end-to-end UCaaS and CCaaS solution, right? And it's a complete platform. So our customer success platform is just built on top of our end-to-end unified communications platform. But since 2018, we've had AI running through it, right? So that helps you make the most out of your conversations. We have a lot of great tools that are AI-based. And this week, we're launching, well, last week technically, but at the show here, we're launching our Agentic product, which we're very excited about and is going to really change how customer service gets done and impact a lot of businesses. So we're very excited about it.
I'm excited to hear more. I have actually 5 agents working for me as we speak across different platforms. And for me and my small business as a professional sort of solopreneur, it's been astounding. It's changed everything. So I only can imagine in an enterprise environment the impact it'll have. How do you start with clients on an agentic AI roadmap? What are the first steps and what's the ultimate vision?
Yeah, that's a perfect question. So we recognize that a lot of companies want to take this journey. They just don't know where to start, right? And they're not confident in what user flows they want to automate. They're not confident that they're going to see the ROI. And so we've built our entire agentic platform around building trust that your agent is actually going to perform, do the task that it's set up to do, and achieve that ROI. So that starts with what we call skill mining. So that's if I have no idea what flows I want to automate, what we're able to do is analyze, a corpus of past conversations from your contact center, departments, whatever it may be, for a set period of time. You can dictate that. And what we do is we triangulate the use cases that are ripe for automation. So we do that kind of along 2 main dimensions. The first dimension is just the frequency with which that flow occurs. And then the second dimension is how automatable, if you will, that flow is, right? Prevalence. So these are things that are happening on a lot of conversations and taking human time to do these tasks. And so we detect if the flow is, ripe for automation by how the human performs on it, right? Is that a simple repetitive task that the human's doing on, 30% of their calls? Then that's ripe for automation. So using your own data, that will show you, and Dialpad's platform with skill mining, that'll show you where to start. And that will give you the hit list, essentially, of the use cases that are ripe for automation. And that evolves over time, right? As the agent is having live conversations in production, you can remine skills down the road, and it will come to the fore and bring out new flows that can be automated. So it's a really, really effective tool and a great way to start if you don't know where to start, but you know that there are some redundant flows that you'd like to automate.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And you have so many customers who really love Dialpad. Do you think agentic is right for all of them, or are there certain use cases or industries or verticals where you think you'll have the most traction with agentic AI?
Yeah, so I think that agentic is going to have an impact on any business.
Wow.
Even if it's a small one, for a small business, even if it's just like a simple, AI receptionist, right, who's going to route your call to the correct person. That's valuable for any business, right? But we are going to be focusing throughout the rest of this year on tailoring the product to really attack certain verticals that are ripe for this type of automation. And that's really come from a lot of the customers that we're already working with in the agentic space in particular verticals. Like healthcare is one that is very attractive to us, obviously. And we have a great customer in the healthcare space that we're building agentic flows for.
Wow.
And so we're taking sort of the tack of it's a generalized solution, but how it's deployed and what it's used for can be very industry specific, right? And so we're currently sussing out what those specificities are, and then we can bring to market for certain industries like healthcare, financial services. All regulated industries are often the ones that are ripe for help here, and we can tailor this. We will know how to tailor the solution for healthcare, for financial services, for retail, right? And so universal technology, but I think it's going to have a really big impact in certain verticals, and that's what we're tailoring the product towards. Not so much in terms of like the features and functionality, they can probably be universal, but how the AI is deployed, what flows are being automated are going to be industry specific.
Fantastic. So you mentioned large regulated industries, of course, guardrails and compliance and data protection,
Yeah.
something you know a thing or two about, but they really come to the fore with agentic. What are some of the philosophies there around those topics,
Yep.
how to protect them? With my agents, I mean, I'm sort of a solopreneur, so I can have fun. I can set up OpenClaw. I can
Yeah.
do all sorts of cool things, but an enterprise can't necessarily do that. So how do you enable this innovation while protecting the enterprise as well?
Yeah, very important question. So we've been doing AI features since 2018. When Dialpad acquired a company called TalkIQ that did NLP, ASR, speech to text, right? Very performant, benchmarked against industry standards, like the best in the business, right? And so we've been building on that foundation since 2018. And so we have that compliance and security posture sort of baked into how we build because we've been doing it for a long time, right? So we know that, if you're using a transcript to run processes, we need to strip out the PII before processing, right? So that artifact as it moves through the system is clean, right? So those types of things are just sort of baked into the way that we build our product, and we pass that level of security on to our customers, along with the official security standards that you can see on our website, right? Trust@dialpad.com, and so that's kind of like at the base, but we're also very conscious of protecting those agentic conversations live in production as well. And we do that with a feature called Guardian. So what Guardian is it's a conversation analyzer that monitors all of your agentic conversations, both chat and voice. And there's three main elements of analysis that it does to ensure that it's a safe and secure conversation, right? So the first level of analysis is probably what we're all thinking, right? The security and compliance layer, right? So that will do things like, scrub PII, ensure that the agent isn't releasing any data that it's not meant to. It protects against things like prompt injection, the like that. Things like hate speech, it'll sort of try and redirect the conversation or hand it off to a human if those types of things are occurring in a conversation. So it's built on Google Model Armor, which is the industry standard at this point. And so in terms of all the data compliance and regulatory compliance, that's that layer. Secondly, we run a conversation analyzer or conversational alignment analyzer as well, right? So that will ensure that the session is actually within the scope of what the agent can handle, right? So we have really robust intent detection, and that can change throughout the course of the conversation. But the moment that the customer starts, asking about something that's out of scope for that agent, we can ensure that that's handed off to a human who can actually help the customer, right? And so then the third analyzer that we run is a frustration analyzer. And so it's built on our customer sentiment model that we've been iterating on since 2018. But then it also has a second layer of analysis wherein it ensures that frustration is actually directed at the agent before suggesting a handoff to a human representative, right? So the caller can be incredibly frustrated about the product, but still, receiving help from the agent readily, and it won't, terminate that session and hand it off to a human. It'll, do what's right for that session, right? And so that's the way that we can both help ensure security and compliance, but particularly with the latter two analyzers, it really enhances the customer experience, right? Because at Dialpad, because we're an end-to-end solution, because that conversation is being handed off directly to a contact center in the Dialpad ecosystem, it's never an issue for us to do that handoff, right? And so the second that the customer experience starts to dip, then we can save that session and hand it off to a human, right? It's never, it's a feature of the Dialpad agentic platform, not so much a bug, right? Where some of our competitors, they try to keep that agentic session going, hell or high water, right? Because that's their business model, right? With us, because it's soup to nuts and it's built on the contact center platform, we have no problem, escalating that conversation to a human agent.
Fantastic. Wow. Well, so much progress. You guys are really on a tear. Speaking of which, you've been with Dialpad for quite a few years. Mm-hmm. You're still a founder-led company, Craig?
Yes, we are.
Craig is at the helm.
Yep.
You're Silicon Valley-based. How does it feel these days, the inside, looking out within Dialpad? You must you must have a lot of enthusiasm and excitement around the possibilities
Yeah.
and where you're headed.
Yeah, absolutely. I really think AI in particular, now with agentic, we're really at an inflection point in the industry. And I think even outside of the customer support ecosystem, I think as consumers become more comfortable speaking with AI and interacting with systems agentically, we're going to really see that type of interaction take off. And it's really going to be the new sort of operating system for how people deal with software, right? Or how people interact with software. And so we think it's going to be really transformative for businesses, for all of our customers. Again, in any industry, big, small, there's something that's ripe for automation there. And so, yeah, we're incredibly excited. It's definitely an inflection point that we are going full steam ahead on. So.
On a mission. Well, congratulations on all the success so far.
Thank you.
And onwards and upwards.
All right. Thanks so much, Evan.